So let's see, first requirement is we're looking for a close, so a closing price of the first and second bar, right, needs to close above an indicator. So we'll use the SMA 10 here as suggested. All right. So that's going to be a comparison solver. Right, we're just going to compare the closing price of the bar to some indicator here. All right, so that'd be a pretty simple comparison solver. So, all right, let's get BloodHound open. We have our template name plugged in there, so we're ready to start. Okay, so let's start working on the logic template there and create a new logic template. And let's see, we need some kind of a name here. Let's see. So this is going to be like a close above or below an indicator and price level. Yeah, some kind of a price level or support level or resistance level or something. So, okay. Well, let's see. All right, so we figured out that item number 1 is going to be a comparison solver. So we're comparing the close price to an SMA here. Let's plug that in, and let's open this up a little bit more. There we go. All right, so we're comparing price to an indicator. So input A, we want that to be price, and then input B will be our indicator. All right, so let's change A to price. There we go. And we can see we have the closing price already selected for us, so that we're good to go there. And input B, well, we're going to switch this over to an SMA 10 instead of a 14. So let's open this up. And let's click on our SMA and then change the period to 10, like so. Pretty simple. All right. So we can see on the chart, whenever price is above our SMA, we're getting a long output. Whenever the closing price is below the SMA, we're getting a short output. Pretty simple. Now, all right, so here's kind of the secondary component is we need the first and second bar to close above or below some kind of indicator there, right? So we can take care of that with a function node. Do is use this look back to do this. So with the look back, we want to use the look back period here. We do not want to use the displacement, so we're going to set the displacement to 0. And we're going to set our look back to 2. And since we want a minimum of 2 bars to close above or below, we're going to set our mode to minimum. So there you go. So now we can see our output changes a little bit. So now when we get at least 2 bars closing above, right? So we can see in this area here, right, we're getting, right, the closing price is kind of chopping up and down on both sides of that SMA, and so we're getting no output until finally we get 2 closes below the SMA. So here on this, so we can see here's our first bar closing below, and then here's our second bar closing below. And then all these subsequent bars, they all are closing below our SMA. And then we get the first bar closing above the SMA, and we can see there's no output. And then once we get to the second bar closing above, then we start getting a long output in the third bar and so forth. Okay, so yeah, so that's question 1 right there addressed with these 2 nodes. Now, question 1A. So we want this to happen after the session. I guess after the open of the session, after the session opens here. So to do that, let's use. There's two things we could do. We could use a time solver, or we could use the SI time block indicator. So let's take a look at that. We could use the SI time block indicator to do this as well. So this is simply just a simple indicator that will track. You can plug in your own custom times. A start time and an end time, right? So you plug in your own custom block of time, and then this indicator will give you. Has a bunch of various outputs that tells you whether you're before the start time, after the start time, after the end time, things like that, and you can specify if you want to use it on what day of the week, right, Monday through Sunday. So that's another option. But I would say, I don't know, they're kind of both the same, but I'm just going to use the time session solver for this one. And so now this question here from Samir, saying this open of the session is suggesting 6 p.m. So if you're not in the U.S., then you may need to create your own custom session times here. However, one of the unique things about using the time session solver, right, is it's using Ninja's session manager, and the session manager has a time zone component built into it. So it makes it really convenient, and you actually don't have to adjust times to your own time zone, because this time zone setting will do that adjustment for you automatically. So this does offer a little bit of a shortcut versus using the time block indicator that I showed you earlier. So all right. So I'm just going to use the standard U.S. equities regular trading hours, right? So because that's the normal trading hours there, at least for U.S. Right? Obviously, if you're in Europe and you're trading the FDAX or some other European currency, then I don't know, somewhere in here I'm sure is the let's see, the Nikkei. So there's the Japanese. Obviously, just go select the appropriate exchange here that you'll be trading in. So all right, so once you've got the correct session template selected for your country that you're trading in, then the time zone should change. I believe the time zone will change automatically as well. Right, so this U.S. equities is 9:30 a.m. on the East Coast, so it's Eastern time zone there. So right, so it's going to adjust this 9:30 to my time zone automatically. So this, right. So using the time solver does make things a little easier and quicker. So we'll click OK, and I squeeze the chart up here and scroll back a little bit. And there we go. So we can see when the markets open on my time, adjusted to my time zone. So you can see it's 7:30 is when the markets open on my time zone there. Right. Okay, so there we go. So there's 1A, component 1A done. And so what we can do now, let's zoom out a little bit. So you can use your mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out. So we're going to grab an AND node, and we'll connect question 1, or component 1 and component 1A together into this AND node, and connect that up. There. Okay, so now we're seeing 1 and 1A. We're seeing those two rules combined together on the chart right now, right? So pre-market, no signals. After the market, we get a signal here. So one question left to address, and that's question 2 here. So, all right. So in this example, so we're looking to go long, right? Go long if above, and short if below a certain price. So, so it sounds like, you know, this price is going to probably adjust every day, probably using like maybe market pivots, you know, trader pivots, daily pivots, you know, whatever kind of term you want to use for pivot, but it sounds like, you know, these are kind of pivot zones, you know, pre-calculated pivot zones that change every day. So to do that, we can use a threshold solver. So let's plug this threshold solver in. And so we're now it just says go long if above. So I'm going to assume that means if price, you know, if the market price is above a certain price. So so being a market price, right? We'll just use price, and we'll use the closing price of the bar. So I take it, you know, we're looking to see if the bar price, you know, market price is above, or if the market price is below. All right, so we'll set our type to price. And now in the thresholds, this is this is where you can plug in your, you know, certain price, you know, your kind of custom price levels there. So let's let's see here. We're on the NQ. So let's see. How about if I put in 59.90? So I can type in there 59.90, and for the sake of getting a kind of a digital output, I'm going to type that number in twice, like so. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to. Yeah, I'm going to need to type this in actually multiple times here. Actually, no. You know what? Instead of using the threshold solver, yeah, you know what? This threshold solver actually would be a little extra work. I guess the threshold solver would work nice if you had two different prices. Say like if you had one price, you know, if you wanted to go long if above one price and you wanted to go short if below a different price, then the threshold solver would work good for that. So actually, I guess I'll keep it on here. Yeah, let me keep it on here then, just in case. And so let's see, let me adjust something here. So let's say 59.80. So, all right, yeah. So let's say, you know, we'll go long. So the way this is set up here is that we would get a long signal if price is greater than 59.90, and we would get a short signal if price is less than 59.80, right? So we can use the threshold solver if we need to use two different price levels there, right? And be sure to fill in all these numbers in between A and E, right? You do need to fill in B, C, and D. Don't leave those 0. Otherwise, the threshold solver most likely will not work correctly. So if you left that at 0, the threshold solver is most likely not going to work correctly. So just to give a simple answer, if you want a more thorough answer on why that is, then I would point you to the video for the threshold solver, and that video explains more thoroughly how the threshold solver works with these threshold levels going from A to E there. So, but anyways, so let's fill that back in. Okay, so there's one option there, and let's give this a name here. So this guy is going to be used for 2 price levels there. And if we only have one price level, then we'll use a comparison solver. So that'll be a little simpler to use here. So with our comparison solver, you know, we want A to be our price, the market price, I should say, price bars. And then B is going to be some kind of fixed value here. Right, so this fixed value is going to be our certain price. So let's put in that 59.90 as our value there, and let's draw a line at that level. There we go. All right, and so we can see from the comparison solver, right, if the price bars are above our level, is above the price level, then we're getting a long output. And as soon as a bar goes below that level, we get a short output. Right? And so we can just take that, plug that into the AND node, and there we go. Yeah, that's it. And let me go back and name these. So it's always good to name these. So let's see here. So we're comparing the close price to see if it's above or below the SMA 10. That's that one. And this one is a time solver. So usually I don't rename the time solvers. I typically only rename the time solvers if I have multiple time solvers used in a system. That way, I can put the times that each time solver is actually looking at. So sometimes you might have a time solver that is only allowing like a couple hours in the morning, and then you'll have another time solver that might be used for a couple of hours after lunchtime. And so I might change the name to kind of denote which time solver is the morning and which one's after lunch. So let's see, and we got this other comparison solver that needs a name as well. Let's see here. All right, so I'll just say one price level. Okay, there we go. All right, so we have kind of two different solvers here that we can use. So we got the comparison solver if all you need is if all you have is one price level. If you're using two price levels, if you need to go above one price level for a long and maybe below a different price level for a short, then that's what this solver would do. And all you gotta do is just disconnect one and connect up the other one. We get something like that. And who knows, if the market keeps going down, we'll get a short signal here. If the market can reach 59.80, we'll get a short signal there. So, well, actually here. How about if I just go ahead and adjust it now so we can see something? I'll just do 51 or 85, 59.85, like so. There we go. All right. So we can see. Let's kind of go back to the morning session. Let's go back to the market open. Here we go. Yeah. All right. So there we go. So we can, we can see our price level here, and here I'll just do a little adjustment. So there's our higher price level, and let me make another one here. There we go. So there's our two different price levels, and look at that. Just so happens that this morning we broke the 59.85 price level, and we're getting a short signal as long as price is below the SMA 10. Right, so as long as price is below some indicator, such as the SMA 10, there we go. Yep. And let's see, then sometime today, there we go. And now we can see price went above our higher price level, and of course the price bars are above the SMA 10 as well. All right. So there we go. Two different examples here for addressing question 2 here. Two different examples. So we're using the comparison solver if you only need one price level, and we're using the threshold solver if you need to use two different price levels. So, and look at that, market did go below 80, so it's diving down pretty good this morning, or I should say it's lunchtime, already noon on the East Coast there. All right, well, that does it for this question. Pretty simple.